Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Erin McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Batboy.
Well, Erin, you remember about a year ago, we did a podcast with the folks at Greenbrier Valley Brewing Company, and that was over in Lewisburg, right?
Yes, we took a trip up there and got to meet those fine folks and tour their facility, and it was quite a day.
Yeah, and I remember in that interview, we learned so much about their progress and their goals for the upcoming year. And then, well, the COVID pandemic hit. And I'm sure that's changed a lot of things for them, just like it changed a lot for us. So today we're going to go back and visit with these guys again, the good guys at Greenbrier Valley Brewing Company in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. So let me introduce the majority owner of Greenbrier Valley Brewing, Bill Heckel, and also we have their Director of Sales and Marketing, Alex Durand. Alex and Bill, welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads.
Hey, Charles. Hey, Erin.
How are you both doing? Thanks for having us.
Welcome. I should say welcome back to West Virginia Beer Roads, because we're moving ahead. And I know you guys are moving ahead. I watch your Facebook and sometimes other things, your website, and see that, you haven't let any grass grow under your feet. You're moving along even in this year. But I know it's probably been different. So looking back over the past year, I'd like for you guys to give me your kind of nutshell review of last year and what the positives were, what the negatives were for Greenbrier Valley Brewing.
Start with last time you saw us, we were planning to open our craft house downtown Lewisburg, and that was supposed to be at the end of March, beginning of April is when our opening date was.
Great timing.
Great timing, yeah. So what was it, March 17th, when they had the complete and total shutdown. So that has still been delayed. A couple other times we were getting ready to open it, but then the spike in COVID cases, we're like, oh, we do this, or we just setting ourselves up for more financial ruin by doing it. So we've held off, but we really, really want to get it open as soon as possible, which that also led into a lot of restaurants and bars being shut down. So we had to go from where Alex can probably tell you, but our keg sales are down way from even the previous year, 2019, where we were expected to increase, especially in the Northern Virginia, DC area, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And it basically, we ended up having to really, really just simply focus on West Virginia and the Roanoke area of Virginia, I would say. Even though we have a little bit of presence still in the Northern Virginia, that we're still working, and our distributor and all of the retailers are still really wanting to place our stuff. But then the next big hit was the can shortage, the aluminum shortage that hit, which hit us in a couple little factors, but we've been able to push through. And we've definitely seen where some of the larger corporate accounts are really liking the sales of our product in general inside of major retailers. And Alex can go more into this in a little bit, but it sets us up for a very positive light in 2021 when resets go back into effect, mainly in the end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah, like right when we were about to hit the ground running in DC, they got hit the hardest. So yeah, we definitely had to pull back in and try to figure out what.
Let me ask you this, Alex. When all this draft sales, kind of dried up because all the bars got shut down and restaurants, and that would be, like you say, especially maybe over in DC and some of those other markets, that really had to impact what you do day to day as far as how you operate the brewery, doesn't it?
Correct. Yes. So we saw, if you want to get the numbers, we saw about a 700 barrel difference between 2020 and 2019.
Yeah, roughly 3,000 kegs.
Yeah, so that was a pretty big hit. And then for those of you in the industry, you know that every time we have a keg, we charge a deposit to get that keg back. So when kegs are not going out, we're not getting the wash of charging deposit, getting the empty shell back. So then distributors were only ordering cans, and we had to make agreements. And luckily, our distributors were very wonderful and understanding, and they were reserving kegs to be taken back or to give back. So it wasn't completely wiping out the can orders that they were ordering.
Yeah, and I think a lot of brewers, because you don't have a ton of employees close together, but you have some in the production side. How did you manage, keeping a healthy workplace and keeping the place open, during those all this past year?
So the main thing, since we were mainly a production facility first, and we do have a tap room, we shut down the tap room and followed CDC guidelines. And then after there was more of a clear image of how the possibility of opening the tap room, we had stringent policies. We provided masks to any customers that came in. There was hand sanitizer for everyone, spacing, we offer masks. And then you're not allowed to, you had to form 6 feet away at the bar. You weren't able to hang out at the bar and drink. We actually didn't even open our tap room until September?
Almost September, yeah.
And we were just doing
Pickup curbside growler fills.
Yep, and we were sitting on tons of kegs. So in order to push through those growler fills or push through those kegs, we offered growler fills for $5 to make sure that the product was fresh. Since no distributors ordered for, nobody could order.
We had 10 keg sales in the first 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you feel pretty good?
10 kegs. Normally we have orders with hundreds.
Yeah. You feel pretty good though about the way you were able to operate as a healthy workplace and as far as your employees and keeping them up, okay.
Anytime that there was a scare, everybody usually went to get tested. They quarantined. We've not had a single positive test come back from our facility. And we've had people close that work here, as close as honestly their significant other tested positive, and after that still it hasn't been brought back in. And we've tried to be very, very up on it and cautious.
Yeah, just following all of the guidelines, and then not letting it slip just because it's, there's really no reason to, because numbers are still increasing. We try to stay up on whatever the state and then also Harvard puts out until pretty much told otherwise. So really, it's kind of hard in certain instances, but just being mindful of it. So we just kind of separated people into different areas. The sales team got pulled home, which was pretty rough because what do you have a sales team do? And we went into customer service mode, and we were able to talk to accounts, see how they were doing, relate with them, and see if there was anything that we were able to do. Talk to them about the possibilities of them doing growlers, additions to temporary laws that were coming around about growler sales. And just essentially went into customer service mode. If we did have to do accounts, because we did have to, the only accounts we were able to talk to were off premise, really, and we operated in hours in which there wasn't high volumes. So
as early as 5 a.m, some of our sales reps would go in to meet with the manager and the placement, just so that there was no other customers actually. Well, the store wasn't actually open, in other words, so they were there at the most limited time possible.
So these were for your sales reps that were maybe calling on accounts, or chain accounts and things that needed to be done. Because I know, what I mean is you're not a direct distributor. You go through beer distributors and to sell your product. So they do most of that calling on accounts for you, right?
Yeah, but we would get the placements, one of our sales staff, he'd for example, go into Walmart, and I'm just using a random Beckley Walmart at 5 o'clock in the morning, get what the placement's going to be, relay that information to our distributor, so that then whenever what we were able to get in, they would have the beer for and get our display set up. But we try to do it whenever, very low volume as far as contact with anybody and hours that it would work. And it's turned out to be quite successful in that.
We were actually able to restructure a bunch of things too and create up, when we started working with these chain accounts, like corporate accounts like Walmart, Kroger, and the larger interests, they were showing more interest in us and allowing us to put in warm displays, and they wanted to have more local relevance because they weren't able to get beer from the larger accounts. Miller Lite ran out for a while in the state of West Virginia, and I know they had a hard time getting it in Roanoke where we're distributed. So they were able to work with these accounts, and we turned into like data entry monsters where we were cataloging all of the SKUs and what was going in, and then given the opportunity of them saying, well, you can now have these other stores, we were able to achieve mostly near 100% execution with some of the corporate partners.
Well, I want to bring in Aaron McCoy now. Aaron has some good questions as well.
Yes, hello. Bill, I will ask you this first. How would you describe the current state of the West Virginia beer market for Greenbrier Valley?
Our market is actually fairly strong. We have some stuff that we can't really bring out right now, but I know even today we secured a pretty good account that's going to be very instrumental with us in the near future. That is June, July target date for launch. We have a few that we start off in small batch. We're at a little bit of a disadvantage to some of the other breweries in the state. We're a little bit off the beaten path whenever it's actually our tap room. So we've put out, I think it's 9 new beers this year that we primarily did in small batch, 3.5 barrel. But we've done a little tweaking, and we have a few ideas that are going to be released this year that we're real excited about, especially from feedback and sales from here locally. I know it's and our goal is to mainly, whenever we release these will start out primarily just in West Virginia, and then we will branch out to other states, mainly because of again, this year is still not going to be good until hopefully Q3 on cans.
So let me ask you about this. What I've seen more of, maybe it's my imagination, seems like convenience stores, maybe some of the chains. You mentioned Walmart, maybe seeing more Greenbrier Valley beer out there. And you said that one reason was because, well, they couldn't maybe get some of the other brands that they wanted. But it seems like there must be something else going. You guys must be supporting that a little more than you did a year ago or 2 years ago.
I'll actually let Alex out on this because this is where you go through the numbers.
Yeah, so if you're talking about so for instance, one of them, our supermarkets. We had been in supermarkets originally, and they're able to use the data of our sales for what stores we had. And then we are actually able to establish relationships with these buyers from these corporate accounts or these supermarkets. Same thing with convenience stores. And then once they have real data, so us sticking to like our core, the tried and true, allows us to generate information that is more easily communicated with these buyers and say that they can give us a space and a shelf and know that it's going to be able to grow, because we have actually pushed those products as hard as we can. And then they allowed us to do things like have displays and then see how that display information happens. So us only having 5 SKUs allowed us to put in 5 SKU displays and allow those to grow and generate sales data that they can use and trust that we would be able to work well in the state and outside of the state. So with one particular meeting, we were in 14 stores, and after the meeting, we were in all of the stores with our largest generating SKU, which is Devil Ant.
That sounds like to me you ought to feel pretty good about the West Virginia retail. And now I know the on-premise you can't really tell because so many of them were down this year, but retailers and bottle shops sounds like a great year or a great, that you're making progress, and you got to feel good about that.
Yeah, we were actually, one of our buyers had mentioned that we were the #1 selling craft beer in their chain and sold at the top 22 of all SKUs in the store. So
they have well over 100 SKUs.
Wow, that's fantastic.
We were the top, not only West Virginia, we were top craft.
Top craft.
Top craft. Like we were actually outperforming Sierra Nevada. Uh, any craft actually. We were and we went from a small placement in that one to pretty much close to 100% execution, and that execution goes into full effect in March and April, right?
It's correct. So they're going to do their spring sets. The conversations didn't have immediate impact, and you're just hoping. And this is a very new territory for us, and all the buyers have fulfilled everything that we'd spoke about in meetings, and then it turned into a cascade effect of now that there's more of us there in the market share. A lot of the other competitors that like supermarkets or grocery stores
are contacting us.
Yeah, because they want to be a part of it. If they can get it across the street, they want to be able to have it as well for their consumers.
That's great. How about the beer market in Northern Virginia and Maryland? How's that going?
It's been slow, but again, Alex can help on this. I know we had a meeting earlier today on Northern Virginia, and and the future looks very, very bright. Our dark cloud of where off premise has been down, our on premise there, from numbers that we've done in West Virginia, it looks like they're going to skyrocket.
Yeah, so in Maryland, we were just getting into that market too. Maryland is driven by a lot of your off premises and liquor stores. Their grocery stores don't have beer, from my understanding, and so
very rare occasion.
Yeah. We had a sales rep there that was doing work. We were just moving it, and then when the shutdown had happened, it was an understanding that I couldn't send sales reps there anyway, so we just kind of we waited, and it allowed us to again focus on West Virginia. Now it kind of makes me think that, I mean, the way that we're set up is you do these sales and you work with getting accounts, and everything you do is not for like the now, it's for the later. So in Northern Virginia, which has a lot of transplants and the brand is very, very well received, they are looking at putting us into a lot of the larger chains, but for 2022, not this year. So this is where the conversation happens. We do some tests, draw numbers, and then based off of whatever the sales are, hit certain target areas to be able to provide fresh beer.
Let's talk a little bit about the internal Greenbrier Valley Brewing operations currently. Let me start with staffing. Some people increased staff this year. Some people cut back a little, depending on their, whatever was going on in their sales, I guess. And how is your staffing level now compared to, say, a year ago?
It's about the same, isn't it?
It's about the same. We have some new faces and a few people that's left. I know, like Evan, for example, with the State Farm, because he got a desk job. He was happy with that. But I can't think of anyone that I've actually. I haven't had to fire anyone.
Well, that's good. That's good.
We've had a couple of people that have. One is a health concern that we want to bring back, just because of COVID.
So we still kept on a lot of familiar faces at our brewery. Brian Ray Miller, Billy, our taproom manager, Annie. We added a student from the Bridge Valley Academy, another employee that used to work at Big Timber. We have 13 employees, 38% of which are female, which I think is a very valuable statistic to drop, because according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2020, there was only 24.9% women that were employed by the beverage manufacturing industry. And in 2016, there was 29% that were in the manufacturing workforce, where women had actually occupied 47% of the total labor force. So it's not to just tout that as laurels, it's that we are hiring qualified people. And we were able to bring in new, like Candace, she has the ability to be able to hopefully create another shift where we would be able to run our canning line a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that makes you a significant employer in the Lewisburg area with, like they say, 13 people or more working there, and that's fantastic.
I'm smiling. Can you see it?
Hey, so, okay, guys, how about the facilities? Are there any new facilities planned? Or you talked a little before last year, maybe hinted there might be. So how's that looking, facilities?
Well, facility wise, we have a few plans, but we want to really see how this new March sets up, March and April with all of our new placements, because we're about ready to double as far as our canned product going out the door. So we want to make sure that we get that first right, and then like I know our goal last year was to come in larger format packaging, but we've kind of scrapped that because now it's like, well, let's get what we know we're already selling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And so last year, I think, as I remember when we did this a year ago, you guys had already expanded internally inside that same building, taking more space within that facility.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
all
totally
being
filled with kegs now.
Empty kegs.
Empty kegs. Yeah. We got about 3,000 of them back there where we used to be worried that we are going to have to order more all the time.
Yeah, so I would imagine your current canning equipment and your production facilities or production equipment are all adequate to produce what you think you're going to need for the upcoming year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, even if with a double, I mean, we're still well under the threshold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Alex, or one of you guys mentioned too that the new tap room in downtown Lewisburg, you're still hoping this spring or sometime this year certainly could get open as pandemic allows.
Yes. Fingers crossed on that one, but we're really hoping for that because we know it will be a good addition to downtown Lewisburg. Just hopefully our landlord can hold on with us a little bit longer and not need to get someone else in there just to get traffic through there.
Well, I'm hoping you guys can tell me some interesting stuff about Greenbrier Valley's production side. What do you think as far as 2020 ending at total barrels? Was it 1,000, 2,000?
We hit 3,241 barrels.
Oh, wow.
Woo!
That's not bad, especially considering the year.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what was your best sellers?
I will give you two guesses.
Devil's Ants.
Yeah. So Devil Ants, our second bestseller is still Wild Trail. We actually held reigns with Mothman. If you're going to come in fourth with just canned product, Old Randall actually is now at fourth, and it's
Now, Old Randall, explain that beer a little, make sure people understand what that is.
Old Randall's our Pilsner. It's named after Old Randall McCoy, and it kind of completes our Hatfield McCoy feud, which we actually used last year. We ran a campaign called Settle the Feud. Yeah, in February. Yeah, where we were able to put an IPA next to a Pilsner and gain interest. The IPA has so much brand recognition that it actually allowed a lot of people to try a lighter style of beer. 35 Parks actually is increased quite a bit, but not since we didn't have it in cans last year. It was the most sold six still out of our tap room.
Oh, wow.
And definitely increased in the few places that had like draft. So we now put it in cans.
Were there any surprises for you guys as far as, sales? You just talked about, obviously you went over that, but what surprised you the most in your final sales numbers?
Something that surprised me was the interest in such a boutique level beer, the Great Claw, because it's the price point has a little bit of a sticker shock to it.
Yeah, talk about Great Claw. Explain the beer again for people that may not know.
Okay, so Great Claw is our barrel-aged imperial stout. We get our barrels from Smooth Ambler. They're mostly contradiction barrels. We aged them for this year. Actually, we aged it for 10 months. And then we named it after the Megalonyx, which is the state fossil. And contrary to popular belief, it was discovered in Haynes Cave, even though the state declaration for it was Oregon Cave. It's been that actually sells in cans equal to the number of Devil Ants cases over our tap room.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Can you get into percentages as far as sales, packaged beer versus draft beer? Obviously it's going to be an obvious answer, but can you talk about that a bit?
I can give you, I didn't have, I mean, it's changed quite a bit, right? For individual varieties, I mean, Double Lance makes up about 53% of our sales. The verses and kegs and cans last year was just a difference of 900 barrels. So we sold 900 barrels more of cans than we did kegs.
Wow. Okay. That's a
Hey,
huge.
you mentioned those state park beers. What was the inspiration again? Because a lot of people don't see those because they weren't so much widely distributed because so many of the bars, weren't open to sell the draft. Tell me a little bit more. I mean, fill us in on that series and what it's like, what it's about.
Okay, so we released a beer called 35 Parks to honor the partnership that we have with Pipestem State Park Resort down in Pipestem, West Virginia. We worked with them because they didn't have Greenbrier Valley. Like they couldn't pick it up. Met with their food and beverage manager at the time, planned an event, and then got along really, really well and started talking about possibly doing a beer to honor the 35 parks in West Virginia, the 35 state parks. And then we worked with them and we donate proceeds of that beer to the West Virginia State Park Foundation.
So tell me about your Explore series that you guys have started with small batches and what your plans are for that series.
You hit it.
Okay, so the Explore series is about the concept of getting out, exploring, and bringing beer when it's allowed. The West Virginia is full of tons and tons of trails, so this gave us an opportunity to explore within ourselves, try out a couple different styles of beer, and just put it out in our tap room so we could get direct face-to-face feedback on our products. We've highlighted over 9 trails this year, and actually I'm working at moving with another group and expanding on that series and highlighting some other beautiful aspects of West Virginia. Like a lot of the people here were very big in being outdoors and enjoying like everything that West Virginia has to offer. So the staff members were actually the ones that picked the names for all those trails because they're their favorites.
Okay. So you're going to stick with the Explore series, but just expand upon maybe the activity that you promote it with, or you're going to have a spinoff still exploring, but not a trail?
Yeah, I think I would like to keep it. It's the Explore series, which showcases beers over in our tap room and what we're using on our small batch system. But yeah, there's more than just trails. There's rivers. There's a bunch of rail trails in West Virginia that are absolutely awesome, with a bunch of like haunted tunnels, and there's definitely a bunch that we could still explore in West Virginia, and bring ideas of conservation and like appreciation to all these different areas, especially now that there's a national park.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to expanding a few of these to new beer styles that will be produced in cans. Like I know a couple of them, the artwork is almost done, and instead of being in the 3.5 barrel, they're going to be jumped up to where it's statewide, distributed statewide in a larger format. And I'll let Alex go into a little bit of the styles.
We're going to get into that in just a minute, I think. Before we get into new products coming up, let's just talk about a little more. I'm sure that you're not planning to slow down your growth with hopefully us coming out of this pandemic environment in 2021. And by summer, let's hope, most places are going to be back open and regular business, and maybe things will get a little more back to normal. And we certainly pray that happens. But you've got to be looking forward to that and thinking of opportunities, because you've got to move quick. When those opportunities open up, when that market opens and people are, looking for stuff at their local bars and restaurants, you got to be out there. So what do you guys see as where you think you're going to get your growth from in 2021? What are you looking at? What have you analyzed, and where are you going to be? What are your best opportunities?
I mean, right now, our best opportunity is to fulfill all the agreements that we've had with our off-premise accounts, and the expansion, and how we've talked with getting complete execution of the state and all of these corporate accounts allows us to move to the outside of the state with confidence and with data that they can rely on. The accounts, I know that there are plenty of people that are waiting to be able to go back to bars and drink Devil Lance on draft. So we've still kept up relationships with our on-premise accounts, and I'm dying to do events again. And like that's what I felt like we excelled at, was being able to create creative events and then have a presence at every festival, which is a gigantic undertaking.
Yeah, so like beer festivals, maybe by late summer, are pretty safe to return. We hope in West Virginia. Certainly, maybe there'll be other events, because people, if they can actually do an outdoor large event, more people will start doing them. And
Yeah.
you will see those opportunities. Do you think though that there might be any opportunities to sell something different? I mean, are you looking at, things that might be, I don't know, just new, or that there's there's a gap you want to fill that you've discovered and you weren't able to do it really this year because things aren't normal, but if it were normal times?
Yeah, actually, we were able to use our Explore series to find out what people were wanting. So the second we put out just a base Goza and something that we were proud of, people flocked, and then we were able to change that flavor. Also with, we were able to actually experiment with a hazy and not do a large batch, and we were able to hone in on our craft. So this way, when people are picking up a Greenbrier Valley beer, it's been tested and it's tried and true, just like of all of the other varieties that we have.
Yeah, our quality and consistency from our DO levels, we're on par with the big boys. We have shelf stability. Our cans aren't going to explode, different stuff. And that's what these big corporate accounts really want to see. They want to make sure that you're doing the science behind it as well. And we're fortunate enough that I feel that we're probably one of the only breweries in the state that actually have the equipment to monitor this and actually do the process to get it done right. So we do have that shelf stability.
Yeah, it's very important. That's something that we need even more of in West Virginia, because we have a lot of people who can now. A lot of breweries are canning, but we need that laboratory work too.
Well, looking ahead in about a month or so, what upcoming products should we as consumers expect to see?
So in a month, so right now you should be seeing distributors are picking up 35 parks and cans. Very, very beautiful cans, got a rhododendron on it. You can't miss that. Something that you'll see that I think, which is the most important to pretty much everybody that I've talked to, is you're going to see Batboy back on the shelves. So it's going to hit the shelves in cans again. You'll see some drafts in very, very limited quantities. We were only able to get, based off of the way that we had to structure things, we're probably only going to be able to produce about 400 to 500 cases of Batboy on the first run.
All right, Alex, sorry, I hate to break in, but tell us about what Batboy is.
Okay, so we actually partnered with the Weekly World News on this one. So Batboy was a sensation from the Weekly World News when it was actually discovered in Lost World Caverns, which is just right down the road from our brewery. And the cave system actually runs under our brewery. It's a legend around here, the elusive Batboy with giant eyes and ears meant for hearing long distances. And if you could look into the Weekly World News, Batboy ran for president last year, if you don't remember correct.
Yeah. So what's the beer like too? You tell me about the beer.
So it's a black lager or Schwarz beer, and it's you're gonna have notes like a little bit of like baker's chocolate. It's biscuit. It's very, very light bodied. As to style, it actually was received so well at the West Virginia Craft Beer Festival. We took the cup on that one. We're still got it sitting there, so I'm hoping to be able to get back to festivals and see where that cup goes, or hopefully maintain it.
Finalist in Great American in 2019.
Oh yeah, it did. It was a finalist as an American in 2019.
Great American Beer Fest.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
I think we finished in the top 10 with it.
That's great. Well, back to the original question. What else can we see looking forward?
looking forward into the future, I would say you should be able to see. I like to be very meticulous about what we put things out. So I can give you a little sneak peek since you guys are so awesome to us and took the time to talk to us. We're going to produce a double IPA, which,
Yes.
all right. Yeah. We're also going to produce a session IPA. And we're also, word on the street is we're going to be able to produce, there's some goes that everybody really, really likes that we'd like to put in cans. Called the Green Bank, which is in honor of the Green Bank Observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia.
And it's flavored with
black raspberries.
Great.
And blackberry. Yeah. So we've actually been able to hone that in. We use West Virginia salt from J.T. Dickinson. And we actually use West Virginia wheat in that beer as well.
That all sounds very exciting. I look forward to it.
Yeah, because one thing that's very noticeable, that's different about Greenbrier Valley than many of the other breweries regionally, as well as certainly locally, is that you guys don't, you might make some small batch stuff that's just at your tap room. You're not putting out a lot of different beers. You're sticking, pretty strictly to your core stuff. And things like Hazies, you haven't really dipped your toe into, other than just dipping your toe into. You haven't really put one out in the big market. The gozes, the flavored fruited gozes, those are two, Hazies and fruited gozes, or hazy IPAs, fruited gozes, two of the hottest, popular, trendy beer styles of the past couple of years. And you guys haven't really been a player, honestly, in those areas. It's good to see maybe those are coming out, but tell me a little bit about the thinking on what you're doing in that area.
I think it's the way I see it is the market was flooded to produce something. We want to stand out. A lot of the hazy beers, I was confused at we have a centrifuge to remove all of this, and now that we got the centrifuge, and now people want hazy beer. So the allowing that to just kind of settle in the market, do market research, and not just jump. I'm not dogging anybody that's been a part of this, but we didn't jump on the bandwagon because we wanted to take the time in our way to create something that we were very, very proud of, test it in our area, and then be able to branch it out when we felt like we had something that we were very, very proud of. So when we released the Goza, the Green Bank, originally it was not offered in cans, and we made a very small batch so we could then see what the rest of West Virginia had thought about it. And it was like the #1 ranked out of all of our beers. So we knew that people wanted new varieties from us. We wanted to make sure that all of our beers satisfied the customers that were interested in them.
Yeah, and not to mention last year kind of got hurt because restaurants and bars were shut down, and we didn't have nearly the places to put it until we could put it in cans. And on short notice last year, unless you were willing to spend a lot, you weren't getting cans.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a problem because, the restaurants and bars being closed a lot or reduced capacity and all that, that's where people try new products and then go buy that 6-pack or the 4-pack. And yet you couldn't also get the cans now to put a lot of those even in the 4-packs or the 6-packs. So you're under the 8 ball a little bit.
That's why we had to focus on what we knew we already had, and had get our SKUs and sets of what was tried and true and keep it out there. And we could have sold more if we could have got more cans.
Mm-hmm. We were actually geared to produce a lot of small batch cans and test smaller markets, just to understand what our consumers actually wanted. Like, why would we produce a hazy if the consumers don't want that hazy market necessarily? You can definitely see that there's a dip in it, and now the market is settled. Same thing with gozas. You're always going to have, in my opinion, IPAs and sour beers now for the rest of craft beer's existence. I can't say that we're going to produce a cereal dry hopped milk or lactose IPA anytime soon, but we've thought about it, I guess.
Get into that a little bit about the can shortage that you were talking about, because that became a pretty major issue for you guys earlier on, did it not?
Yes, it did. We had like one of our largest seller, Double Ants. Our shipment was supposed to arrive on May 25th, and we got it 2 weeks before it was supposed to get here. We got told it wasn't coming until June 25th. And at that point in time, we were literally out of cans and waiting for the 25th to come and ready to package a bunch. We had to bring in an outsourced person just because that was the only available cans we could get at that point in time on a quick turnover. We could have sourced them another way and got them a few weeks later, but then you're talking a matter of a week or two, and if they have any delay, then our cans are in anyhow. That was just going Shrinksley, but we had to go through a company called Ironheart, and grateful that they were there because we were able to get our product easily 3 weeks back on the shelves faster by going that way instead of waiting a whole month.
Yeah, because right now the queue that we're in, we ordered cans in September.
Paying for them in September.
Yeah, and they're arriving in March.
Wow, that's a huge delay. Do you expect that to continue because of everyone who's kind of ramped up all their canning? Do you think that this is maybe a reoccurring, I guess, problem for you all?
They're not. I don't think they're going to let it be a reoccurring from our larger supplier. They're actually limiting. There's no new accounts they're going to be able to enter their facility, and they're only limiting 2 truckloads for the rest of the year. So we have to use alternative sources like we are now. So there's going to be a lot more shrink sleeve cans out on the market.
It's good you have a backup. I mean, not that you want to go that route, but at least you were able to go that route and not waste product and get your product back out on the shelves for people.
Yeah, we just take a major hit in our margins.
Mm-hmm.
It's
wonderful to work with.
Yeah, the company is great to work with, and it works great on our canning line and everything. It's the same can. It's just they get it as a blank and are able to put a sleeve on it, where we got to compete with Mountain Dew, Pepsi, Miller Lite, Coke, everybody, all the big guys, to get our printed cans. And that's where the little guy kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, little guys. Greenbrier Valley Brewing is probably our largest brewery, but they're still little guys when it comes to the bigger regional and certainly national beer producers. And one more last thing before we wrap this up, I want to, guys, we're nearing the West Virginia legislative session. So how are you guys with the laws? I mean, everything cool with you guys? I just mean, are there things that need to be improved so that breweries can operate more efficiently and more profitably?
There definitely needs to be some improvements. To go out and write them out right now.
Beer delivery.
Yes.
Where you can ship beer.
Yeah, that would be great. Great. Like, 'cause we have people from all over the country that ask usually on a weekly basis, can you ship us some beer? Yeah, more than happy to pay for it.
Yeah, right. And I know, I don't know what the control is in West Virginia on you being able to ship beer to another state. Those are usually regulated by the other states. I know you can't ship beer inside West Virginia. And unfortunately, you're right next to Virginia there, and Virginia, they allow their breweries to ship in their state. Pennsylvania certainly does.
And I will say the ABCA has been really, really good to work with this whole time. Anything that we've asked, they understand that this is an industry that really has taken a hit because, we're down roughly, I think, 700 barrels. I could be off by a little bit, 700, 800 barrels just in keg sales. Now, we've increased our can sales, and we could have increased it more if cans were more readily available.
Yeah. I think, too, another thing cool that'd be for laws is if we could, if it was like just okay with the state for us to do collaborations and do them where we could actually co-brand with just breweries. I mean, I can go to Virginia. I mean, the brewing industry, everybody knows everybody. So like I can go over the state lines and I can do a beer over there, and then they can put it out, put Greenbrier Valley all over it. And then they can't do the same thing over here. So, I mean, I think that'd be really great. I'd like to collaborate more with You know,
Even in-state.
some in-state breweries, but
Yeah,
Never mind.
good info, guys. And Aaron, you have anything else for us today?
I don't think so. I just wish you guys the best of luck, and I look forward to what you're going to be putting out this year.
We're hoping to have a pretty diverse thing, and hopefully we can hit more to the larger batches that get statewide than what we've mentioned, because we definitely have plans for other stuff as well. It's just, let's test and see where it is, and make sure we get the stability and everything there before we really sink a bunch of money in and get everything back open. And I know all the restaurant owners and bar owners, they, right now, what are they at, half capacity?
still have capacity.
Still at half capacity. It's and this is a kind of a business that it's quantity.
Yeah.
As far as sales, your volume is. You can only have half the people in there. That means you're pretty much getting half the sales. Your turnover doesn't change that great.
Yeah, we very much appreciate all of the businesses that have kept us on through all of this. It's definitely helped.
And thank you guys. Thanks for making it aware out there and giving another channel for people that are interested in our industry, which is growing all the time. We're still, I see, even with the pandemic and everything, we still pretty much stayed on our production levels.
We're going to wrap this up, and I want to wish you the best of luck, certainly on getting those cans that you need, and also with all the new products that you might be bringing out. Again, thank you guys for joining us today on West Virginia Beer Roads.
Thanks, Charles, and thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
This brings us to the close of another podcast. Remember, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Thank you for listening to West Virginia Beer Roads.
West Virginia Beer Roads is a production of BrilliantStream.com.